Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto become a Hallow god with Kyubbi or Shinigami power. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. I'm dead, was the question asked by one Naruto Uzumaki as he looked at his lifeless body surrounded by Akatsuki members. The reason for this was that Naruto had gone on a tracking expedition hoping to find Sasuke and bring him back. However, to our blonde hero's dismay, Sasuke had joined the Akatsuki to destroy Konoha. Naruto had managed to infiltrate the Akatsuki base, located in the Hidden Rain village, and managed to kill an Akatsuki named Zetsu who had tried to capture Naruto by surprise. This, however, alerted the other Akatsuki to his presence and his tracking expedition was over. Naruto's dead eyes narrowed at how he died just a few minutes ago. His body was presented by the Akatsuki to a giant statue with many eyes and a gaping maw of a mouth. A jutsu was cast by the remaining members and the statue activated, sending out 9 purple dragon spirits that dove into the blonde's body and ripped the Kyubbi out by force. Naruto did manage to laugh at the Kyubbi's frightened spirit as it was devoured by the statue. However, the of the unsealing had left Naruto's body dead and lifeless. At last, we now have all 9 Biju, and now our quest for world domination can begin, spoke an orange-haired man to the Akatsuki members. Naruto's head hung with a sigh. Well, let's see how dead I am, Naruto spoke as his dead spirit jumped and swung his fist at the orange-haired man only to pass through him. It didn't go unnoticed, however, as the said man twitched when Naruto passed through him. What's wrong, Pain-sama? Asked the blue fish man Kisame. Nothing. I just felt something cold pass through me, the now named man answered. Naruto puffed out his cheeks in an angry pout. Great, I can't do anything and this chain is annoying as hell, Naruto yelled, trying to pull the chain of fate out of his chest. I wouldn't do that if I were you, spoke a voice in the blonde's head. Who said that? The dead blonde asked as he looked around trying to find the voice. That would be me, the voice spoke, emanating from a blue-haired woman who stood next to Pain, who continued to rant about his plan. You can see me, the blonde spirit questioned. Yes, and I'm sorry that it had to be this way. Naruto suddenly felt anger boiling inside him that needed to be released. Suddenly the chain of fate on Naruto's chest disintegrated. Sorry, you're sorry. Hell, if anyone should be sorry, it should be me. Because of this, I'll be able to bring that Tem back to Sakura and keep my promise to her. Because of this damn organization, my wife, Hinata, will become a widow. Because of the Kyubbi, my village hated me for years. Hell, why did I think I could become Hokage? They would never make their leader a man who has sealed in him the very image that they despise. Naruto yelled as his voice started to become lower and filled with malice. Naruto was now experiencing the harshness of reality along with a hollow transformation. Suddenly Naruto's spirit fell to the ground and began to convulse and shift. His body started to grow bigger and his skin began to become gray and lifeless. Large, bull-like horns grew from the sides of his head. His once short spiked blonde hair was now a pale yellow mane that extended past his neck and stopped somewhere near his middle back. His arms became muscular and clawed. His legs became more defined and his feet changed into a pair of hooves. The transformation wasn't done yet. On the blonde's right shoulder sprouted a tiger-like skull. On his left shoulder sprouted an eagle-like skull. A cracking sound was heard as a tail sprouted from his lower back, and it had the body of a white snake with a snake's head to match. The horrid changing finished. 4 white masks materialized on all 4 heads. Naruto's face was now covered by a dragon-shaped mask. A hole formed the seal for the Kyubbi once was, and 3 symbols appeared around it. Konan watched in fear as the boy who had just died became a twisted monster. The female member of Akatsuki, however, knew what he had become. He's become a hollow. If you're wondering why Konan can see Naruto's hollow transformation, it's because she has spiritual awareness. The other members of Akatsuki can't see it because none of them have this skill that Konan has. Also, Konan is the blue-haired woman, if you don't know. The other members who couldn't see the new hollow-feed Naruto all fell to the floor gasping for breath. Pain had never felt anything like the killing intent he was feeling. It just came out of nowhere and hit them all full force. Naruto, who had just become a Hallow and was still getting his bare rings straight, was unconsciously letting off high levels of spiritual pressure, or known as Ryutsu. To living human, high-level Ryutsu has the same affect as killing intent, only 5 times stronger, which WOU LD explained the state the Akatsuki were feeling. In Naruto's mind, changes were happening. The cage that held the Kyubbi melted into a pool of bronze liquid. The pool divided itself into 4 cages. E-liquid the bubbled and raised itself up, forming a pillar-shaped cage. 3 smaller cages all formed around the pillar cage in a triangle formation. In the pillar cage laid a human version of Naruto wearing a dragon mask. In the first cage in the triangle formation laid a copy of Naruto wearing a red tiger hollow mask. In the second cage laid another copy of Naruto wearing a blue eagle hollow mask. In the final cage, completing the triangle of cages, was yet another Naruto copy with a yellow snake hollow mask. All 3 Narutos in the triangle-formed cages all awoke and stood looking at the one in the middle cage. "When do you think he'll wake up?" the copy wearing the red tiger mask asked. "He just died and transformed, give him time." The one wearing the blue eagle mask spoke. "Indeed, we should probably get his body out of here for the moment. He may have just transformed, but his spirit reserves are empty. Currently his body is running off of its own Ryutsu." The Naruto wearing the snake mask spoke. "Not before we kill off at least one of those damn Akatsuki members for doing what they did." The tiger mask proposed. The eagle and snake bowed their heads in thinking poses. "Agreed." All 3 spoke out loud. Outside in Naruto's mind, in the living world, Konan had been watching the hollow just stand there and it hadn't moved. "Pain-sama, I suggest we leave now while we can," Konana offered to her leader. "Nonsense, Konan. The statue is the key towards our goal of world domination." Pain spoke. "Our goals won't mean anything if we're dead." Konan spoke before disappearing in a swirl of paper out of fear. What the other members didn't know was the body of the hollow they couldn't see was now moving. Suddenly Pain felt an invisible force smack him up against the wall of the Akatsuki hideout. "What's happening?" Pain spoke out. For once in his career, in Pain's life, he was scared. His Renningan bloodline couldn't see what was doing this. His 6 bodies couldn't help him either, seeing as how they couldn't find what was doing this either. In Naruto's head, "I say we eat their leader." The tiger mask Naruto spoke. "Are you sure?" The eagle mask Naruto asked. "I actually believe that would be a good idea. Pain has 6 souls living in his body, including his own. It would be like getting 7 meals for the price of 1. The snake mask Naruto said intelligently. "All the more reason for me to kill him and then eat him." The tiger mask voiced enthusiastically. All 3 bowed their heads in thought. "Agreed," they all voiced. Outside in reality, Pain felt his neck pierced by something sharp. The hollow Naruto's claws had pierced Pain's neck, and currently the whole arm was starting to glow red before the tiger mask on the hollow's shoulder let out a roar and Z of blackish-red flames. Pain's 6 bodies also burst into flames as the arm pulled Pain's soul out of his body along with the other 6 souls. Now that Pain's soul was out of his body, he could see the creature that had done this to him. 6 chains of fate also extended from Pain's soul to the 6 souls that powered his other bodies. Pain was frightened. The beast that had him in its grasp wouldn't let go. Pain flashed through some hand seals in an ATEMPT to escape, but nothing happened. The arm brought Pain's soul up to the tiger mask. The mask grinned before speaking. "Chakra doesn't work when you're dead." With that being said, the mask devoured Pain's soul and began to slurp the other 6 towards it like spaghetti. The snake tail chomped down on the chain, yanked back and spoke. "You're not the only one who needs to eat. Spread it around." "Fine." The tiger mask spoke before snapping the chain of fate and swallowing another soul. The snake mask devoured 2, as did the eagle also. When all 3 had eaten, there was 1 soul left. "Who wants it?" the tiger mask asked. "I say we split it into 3 pieces and enjoy." The eagle proposed. "Sure, that works." The snake complimented. The eagle mask used its claws to slice the last soul into 3 pieces, which were each enjoyed by the 3 masks. The middle mask on the neck area began to stir as its eyes opened, revealing the blue eyes that Naruto always had. In Naruto's mind, The Naruto in the middle cage awoke before looking around and seeing he himself was in a cage. Good to see you're finally up, King. The red tiger masked Naruto spoke from his cage. Who are you guys and why am I in a cage? Naruto asked wearily, leaning on the cage bar for support. Were you, happy boy? The tiger mask laughed. Don't mind him, but he is correct. We are all a part of your power. The snake mask explained from his cage. What power? Naruto asked, getting more confused by the second. The snake mask sighed before summoning a screen of Naruto's hollow form. Your soul changed into this when you gave into your anger and other negative emotions. Holy crap, I'm a monster. But that doesn't explain why you guys are here. Naruto said, frightened. During your transformation into that creature, you were feeling 3 negative emotions. We were spawned from those emotions. I was spawned from your sorrow of Hinata becoming a widow and never seeing her husband again. The Naruto wearing an eagle mask explained from its cage. The way the copy spoke was sad and gentle. I couldn't have explained it better. I was spawned from our loathing of the Akatsuki for killing you. The snake mask explained. I was spawned from the anger you were feeling since you wouldn't be able to bring the emo back to Sakura. What did you see in her anyway? The tiger mask asked loudly. She was a nice person. Naruto argued against himself. She was only nice to you after you told her you would get her eye candy of an emo back. The tiger mask shot back. She was my teammate. I had to comfort her. Okay, so then buy her some flowers or something. Don't promise to do something that gets you killed. Oh wait, you're already dead. The tiger mask Naruto yelled from his cage. Bite me. I would, but this cage keeps me from doing so. The eagle and snake mask wearing Naruto's side. This was gonna be a long afterlife. Elsewhere in Soul Society. Returning from my long field mission, Yamamoto Taiko. Spoke Conan, who bowed to the large man in charge. Yamamoto looked up from the documents he was reading. Report. All 9 Vasto lore. The Hallows have been captured and are currently waiting in the Trap Keto statue. However, I'm afraid to say that a new Hallow was created, one that hasn't been seen for some time. You don't mean? Yes, it's a chimera Hallow. A Hallow with 4 masks. Conan spoke sadly. Good, your 4th seat duties will be reinstated immediately and call Mayuri's division. We need a capture unit and squad of THR/EE captains down there now before that Hallow starts something. This assignment will be given to Zaraki Kenpachi, Hitsugaya Toshiro and Soi Fan. The general declared. Understood. Conan spoke before shunpoing out of the office. Yes, Conan is the 4th seat to Yamamoto. My FIC, and I'll do with it what I please. As for Naruto, he is a Hallow with 4 masks. That Soul Society was a place where spirits were sent to if they were lucky enough not to become Hallows. Currently Conan was on the move to get the order out for the mission that had just been assigned to 3 of Sariety's best Shinigami squads. Currently Conan was dressed in her Shinigami robes, which consisted of a white robe top which covered a gray t-shirt which she wore underneath, which didn't do much to conceal her rack. The black hakama pants were tied with an obi cloth and went down to her ankle. On her feet were a pair of samurai-style sandals which enclosed her feet that had no socks. If you looked closely you saw LDC dark blue nail polish on each of her toes. Her zanpakuto hung from her side and it took the form of a anbu katana. Her hair was no longer done up but now hung freely past her shoulders, the pap. Flower still nestled neatly in her hair to the right side of her head. The first place Conan stopped was the 11th Division, which was ran by Zaraki Kenpachi. The 11th Division was known for their fighters, seeing as how their captain trained them to the point of breaking. But like the old saying, what doesn't kill you, only makes you stronger, was taken to heart here. Conan knocked on the entry door of the division and it opened to her, being greeted by a man with a feminine appearance. Colorful feathers adorned the one side of his face. This was Yumashika Yasugawa, the 5th seat of the 11th Division. Conan Senpai, so good to see you back. What brings such a lovely person such as yourself to this horrid place? Yumashika spoke as he enveloped Conan in a friendly hug. Kona and Yumashika were old-time friends and Conan often at times would spar with Yumashika for a workout. Good to see you as well, Yumashika-kun, but I have orders for a mission for your captain. Conan spoke in a haste-filled manner. Oh well, he's in the back office doing paperwork. Come on. The feminine male spoke as he led her through the division. Conan looked around as they walked and noticed. Not much had changed with the old place. People everywhere, either practicing with wooden training swords, sleeping or drinking sake just to pass the time. When they reached the middle of the division building, Conan saw several paper flowers strewn everywhere. I see Yakiru-chan has been practicing the origami lesson I taught her before I left. Conan said as she looked at each flower and was amazed at the level of detail. Yes, it's nice to see Yakiru doing something constructive with her time instead of eating candy all day. Yumashika spoke as both of them now stood in front of a door with a kanji for captain on it. On the other side of the door, sounds resonated like someone was getting beat up. Yumashika pushed Conan out of the way just in time to see a bald man crash through the door and roll all the way down the hallway the two of them had just walked up. They managed to get a glimpse and saw the numerous cuts covering the man's arms and legs, seeing as how his Shinigami uniform was almost torn to shreds. "You're getting sloppy, Ikaku," rang the voice of Kenpachi. Conan and Yumashika both stuck their heads in to see Kenpachi barely having a scrape as compared to the recently airborne Ikaku, who looked like he went through hell twice. Yakiru was standing on a desk with a pair of cheerleader fans, dancing about and sending papers on the desk flying. A tick mark suddenly appeared on Yumashika's head. Before he sighed, "I just organized those two. Zaraki Taiko, Yakiru Fukutaicho." Conan spoke with a salute and a bow of repsect. Kenpachi questioned out loud. "Ori-chan." Yakiru yelled happily before glomping the former Akatsuki member's leg. "Ori-chan is short for Origami-chan." Kenpachi looked and saw Conan standing in the recently due to see you back. Conan. "How was the long-term mission?" "I'm sorry, Zaraki Taiko, but I don't have time for pleasantries. You have been assigned an important mission along with two other captains," Conan explained as he handed the document describing the mission to Kenpachi. The Spike-hired captain took a few minutes to read it. "An attack and retrieve mission on just one Hallow. Why would you need 3 captains for that? I just give the missions out, Zaraki Taiko. Nothing more. Now if you'll all excuse me, I have 2 more divisions to give this to." Conan spoke, shunpoing towards the 10th division. At the 10th division, Conan led herself into the building. She wondered what this division specialized in, but never bothered to ask. "Matsumoto, I'm sorry, Hitsugaya, Taiko, but you should have known. All the cups in the cupboard might have been this way." "But why are they this way? I was practicing Bankai. You couldn't practice on something else." Conan laughed to herself and will admit that what went on between Hitsugaya and Rangaku would have made a good sitcom to watch. Hitsugaya Toshiro, a short, irritable, serious young man, and Rangaku Matsumoto, a tall, beautiful, happy, big-chested, somewhat naive women. Priceless. Conan made her way through the building and knocked on the captain's door. "Come in." Hitsugaya spoke from the other side. The origami user opened the door and made her way in, followed by a salute and bow. "Hitsugaya Taiko, Matsumoto Fukutaicho. 4th seat." "Conan, what is your business?" Hitsugaya replied like clockwork. "Conan ne-chan." Matsumoto yelled happily before glomping the woman, pressing both of their bodies together. "Every fanboy's dream." Sighs happily. "Good to see you to Rangaku, but I have a mission for Hitsugaya Taiko." Spoke in a strained voice under Rangaku's grip. "Oh, okay." The busty, orange-haired woman spoke, letting go. Conan walked up to the office desk of Toshiro, which had tea dripping from it and several papers drenched and ruined. Toshiro glared at his second-in-command before taking the mission document and reading it. A search and capture mission that involves 3 captains and a retrieval unit, all for just 1 Hallow. "Again, like I told Zaraki Taiko, I just hand out the assignments." Conan spoke before shunpoing towards the 2nd division. 2nd division. Conan made it to the Sion division building without any difficulty and will admit that the place was dead quiet. It was weird not hearing any noise. Heck, it was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Conan made her way to the office of Soi Fan, the captain of a division that specialized in hand-to-hand combat more than actual sword or Kido use. It was also known that Soi Fan was an icy person and was not one you would want to cross. Unlike Hitsugaya, who just got mad, Soi Fan would strike down her own subordinates if they got in the way. Conan made her way to the captain's office door and knocked. "Enter." spoke the voice of Soy Fan on the other side. Conan made her way in with a bow and salute. Soy Fan Taiko, what is your reason for coming here? Soy Fan replied from her desk where she was doing paperwork. A mission agenda from General Yamamoto himself. Conan spoke, handing the mission specs to Soy Fan. The icy woman read the document over and nodded. Very well, I will be ready for this mission. That is all. Nan nodded and Shun-Pio'd out of there quickly. Scene changed to Naruto's mind. Naruto had moved his hollow form into a large field and currently was arguing with himself, again. The Akatsuki had abandoned their base and went off somewhere. No you are, no you, no you are, no you. Both the eagle and snake mask wearing Naruto's side. For the last hour, the original Naruto and his tiger moss wearing counterpart had been arguing over who was a bigger idiot. Naruto. The snake mask wearing one yelled. What? Both Narutos who had been arguing yelled at the same time. Something's coming. The Naruto wearing the eagle mask spoke. Outside of Naruto's mind a large crack formed in the sky before opening and revealing a dark abyss. Out of the abyss came a large white boot that crashed deep. And following the boot was what appeared to be a large black moving mass with a massive hole in its center. Its head consisted of a white oval-shaped mask that had a long pointy nose that stuck outward quite far. It's a Manos Grande if my describing skills aren't good enough. Our blonde hero looked up at the towering creature and it looked at him. Out of the black mass that was its body came a clawed white hand that reached out and tried to grab Naruto. Naruto's hollow instincts kicked in and he jumped upward before landing on its hand and scratched at it with his own claws before jumping off. Naruto looked back and his eye widened. Not even a scratch. Naruto thought as the clawed hand he just dug his claws into didn't even have a single mark. The large hollow's response to the SC. Ratch was an opening of its mouth and a charging of a ball of red light. Naruto didn't know what the Manos was doing but a voice that didn't belong to one of his personalities which sounded in the back of his head told him to move and quickly. Naruto however stood his ground and unwilling opened his own mouth and began charging a Sero of his own. The only difference was that our blonde hero's CERO was a whitish green and in the form of a cross. Both the Manos and Naruto fired their Seros at the same time and both collided head-on. Well, one did. The Sero the Manos fired hit and tore through Naruto's Sero like it was wet tissue paper. Naruto, you can't fight an enemy like that head-on. You don't have the spiritual pressure for that type of fighting. The snake mask Naruto spoke to the Naruto as he dodged the Sero that tore through his by making a quick run followed by a sharp right turn. Well then how am I supposed to fight this thing? Naruto screamed mentally in his head. T.S. being outclasses you in strength and Ryutsu, but it doesn't seem very intelligent given its clumsy and awkward movements. The snake mask Naruto observed as the hollow turned towards Naruto's position very slowly. Naruto stopped and watched the giant creature and his other personality was right. The thing's motor functions were slow and in order to fire that red blast it had to have Naruto in its sight. Okay, so what should I do? First off, calm yourself. Panicking and attacking recklessly won't get you anywhere. The eagle mask Naruto explained. Also ya moron, you have multiple abilities. Don't just use your own mask's powers, use ours too. Each mask controls a different element. Mine controls fire, snake's controls lightning and eagle's controls water and ice. The tiger mask Naruto insulted explained. Also to use our mask powers, you must synchronize your Ryutsu so it empowers us so we may empower you. The snake mask spoke in Naruto's head. How do I synchronize Ryutsu? Naruto asked his other selves as he dodged a claw swing from the Manos. Pretend like you're focusing chakra and focus it into one of our cages that surround your cage. The tiger mask instructed. Naruto entered his mindscape and put his hands together and began to focus on the tiger masked cage. The Naruto copy began to glow bright red before letting out a roar. Okay, we're both synchronized, now teach that thing a lesson. Back out in reality Naruto's right arm began to glow red and a fireball formed in his hand. Naruto saw the Mio's claw coming down. Naruto chucked the fireball and it hit the giant hollow's palm, scorching it and leaving a burn mark. Good, but you need to aim at place where if it hits, it would kill it. I say go for the head. I agree. Naruto watched as the second claw came down. Naruto jumped on top of it and held on. The Mano swung its claw in an attempt to throw him off but no avail. The large creature brought Naruto up to his face to bite him off. As the hand got close to the mouth, Naruto jumped and grabbed onto the Mano's nose and climbed up so he was right in front of its eyes. I got an idea's head as he began charging fire into right hand and Hen began using his left hand to move it around in a left and right manner to where it was sphere-shaped and had the fire spinning around in every movement thought possible. Alright ugly, eat this. Fuego Rasengan. Naruto shouted as he shoved the flaming sphere smack dab between the Mano's eyes, causing a crack to form. It wasn't a big one, but the attack was still going and Naruto was still pushing the flaming Rasengan as it began to expand and cause the crack to deepen. The Mano's let out a pained scream as a beam of fire shot out of the back of its head and killed it. Meanwhile, several minutes before Naruto took down the Mano's, the portal gate was ready and the three captains stood ready. Soi Fan, Zaraki Kenpachi and Hitsugaya Toshiro all leaped through the portal as it opened, revealing their destination. I hope this Hallow puts up a good fight, spoke Kenpachi in excitement, doubtful seeing as it has just been born. Hitsugaya spoke, causing the insane 11th captain to frown. Shorty, if I wanted your opinion, I would have asked for it. Let's just do this mission already. Soi Fan spoke, stopping an argument that was about to happen. All three nodded and entered the portal. Opening parenthesis. World where Naruto is fighting the Mano's. A large gate materialized in the sky and out of it walked the three captains. What a rush. Kenpachi spoke, feeling refreshed after that. Hitsugaya and Soi Fan on the other hand were panting. Soi Fan looked up and saw a Mano's and a much smaller Hallow fighting. Soi Fan gasped as she watched the smaller Hallow punch the Mano's between the eyes and what appeared to be a arrow shoot out of the back of the Mano's head, killing it. That's impossible. No low-level Hallow should be able to fight and kill a Mano's. Soi Fan spoke in a disbelieving tone. Well, that one did, and I'm gonna have a good time. Kenpachi spoke, unsheathing his sword and charged at the Hallow like a bat out of heck. Kenpachi, wait, we're not supposed to kill it, just bring it back. Hitsugaya shouted to the insane captain. Forget it, he won't listen. Let's just intervene, before he kills it. Soi Fan interjected. Fine. Naruto looked down at the toppled black mass that was the Mano's Grande. To be more precise, it was a Jillian Hallow. He didn't know why, but the more he stared at it, the more hungry he became. It got to the point where he couldn't control himself any longer. ND lunged at the large Hallow and began biting and ripping off chunks of its mask with his teeth and claws, devouring it hungrily. Naruto kept eating until the Jillian's mask was gone. Naruto, however, was feeling something weird. His body felt strange, like it was growing. His body doubled in size and he felt empowered after eating the Hallow Jillian's mask. Toshiro and Soi Fan had stopped in their tracks as they saw the Jillian's mask devoured. Kenpachi, however, was laughing like a maniac as he closed the distance between himself and Naruto, bringing his sword down to strike the Hallow's back. Kenpachi suddenly stopped as he felt something constrict his arm and then something sharp pierce it. He looked to his left arm and saw the Hallow's snake tail had wrapped around his sword-wielding arm tightly and had sunk its fangs into his forearm. Now to the 11th Division captain, it stung but really didn't hinder him. However, a yellow light gathered in the snake's mouth and the 11th Division captain suddenly felt electricity course through his body. He involuntarily rang out. What was strange was he smiled as his body was pulsing with electricity and pain. Is he insane? Soi Fan asked as she watched what was happening in front of her. It looked like he was enjoying it. She got out her Soul Slayer Sting Suzembaki. She spoke, activating her Shikai as it took the form of a stinger on her right hand. Most likely, Hitsugaya replied as he got out his Zanpakuto and charged. Sit up on the frozen heavens. Hyorinamru. Hitsugaya spoke, activating his Shikai, and his sword gained a chain to its hilt. Back with Naruto, Kenpachi was still trying to free his arm, but the snake held him fast and the electricity coursing through his body wasn't helping. Naruto didn't know why, but he was feeling a hatred for these three beings who came out of nowhere and were attacking him. He didn't like them for just attacking him, but the hate he was feeling felt like an instinct. Naruto hunched himself over, using his two arms for balance, before bringing his left leg up and shooting it out, effectively dislodging Kenpachi and leaving a hoof mark on his forehead. OWW. Kenpachi spoke as he crashed into a tree from the force of the kick. Soi Fan jumped in accompanied by Hitsugaya. Soi Fan delivered a stab with her Suzembaki to the Hollow's right arm, making it go numb and leaving a death mark. Hitsugaya flung his chain from his shikai around the Hollow's left arm in an attempt to freeze and restrain it. Naruto fought back by forming a Sero in the snake Hollow's mouth and fired it at Hitsugaya, who got hit and crashed onto the ground hard. Soi Fan shunpoed to the stab area where she had hit before in an attempt to hit it again, activating her shikai and put the Hollow in a near-death state. Before her stinger hit its mark, the arm pulsed and let loose a blast of fire from the masked skull on its shoulder, blasting Soi Fan back. Kenpachi had recovered the blow to his head and charged again, this time weary of the snake tail, which made another lunge with its fangs out. Kenpachi backhanded it away from him and stabbed his blade hard through it, eliciting a screech from the tail, and hooked it to the ground. Hitsugaya froze the Hollow's torso and legs with his shikai, and Soi Fan finished it by hitting the stab mark on the right shoulder again. Naruto felt cold, numb, a stabbed sensation in his tail, and now really weak, like he was poisoned. Naruto's hollow body hit the floor and looked half dead. "You sure we can't kill it?" Kenpachi asked, as he pulled his sword out of the Hollow's tail. "No, we can't. Our orders were to take it back to Soul Society." Hitsugaya spoke as he opened a Senkai gate and loaded the Hollow onto a Senkai transport, and all three took their new captive back. As the three captains made their way back, they didn't notice the gaze of other beings on them, hidden in the shadows, who had been watching the whole that transpired. You sure we wanna use him in the upcoming war? I mean, Soul Society already has that Hollow. How are you going to get close enough to use the sphere to change him into an Arankar?" asked a man with closed eyes and white faded hair. This was Jin Ichimaru. "We can't use him right now. He needs to evolve to an Ejuka's level Hollow for the Hogyoku to really affect him and bring out his true potential," spoke Jin's superior as he stepped out from the shadows, revealing a brown-haired, critical-eyed looking man. This was Sosuke Aizen. But why him? Why not use a Hollow who's already in Ejuka's level? Also, the only way he could become an Ejuka's level Hollow was if we got him to Hyunko Mundo, Jin asked, questioning his superior's methods. Aizen said nothing as a third figure revealed himself. He had dark skin and a visor covering his eyes. This was Konami Tusen. The reason Aizen-sama wants that Hollow in particular is because it is a chimera Hollow. They are extremely rare and, when evolved properly, are believed to be quite powerful. I myself have never seen one until this day. Tosen spoke seriously as he had just finished. Like Tosen said, chimera Hollows are extremely rare. I remember when the last chimera Hollow attacked Soul Society. That was over 1,000 years ago. The Hollow had only 2 masks and had nearly brought Soul Society to its knees. Not even Yamamoto could not stand up to it. Aizen spoke as the three disappeared in a shunpo. In Naruto's mindscape, he was getting a mouthful from his tiger counterpart. "You suck. You f***ing suck. Oh, give him a break." It was his first time going up against Shinigami Captain 3 no less. Naruto's Snakeganger countered. "Well, I hope that excuse of yours saves us from whatever shit we're gonna end up going through." Naruto's tiger mask-wearing copy retorted with an angry scowl. "What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "Kid, we're a Hollow. Shinigami kill Hollows. If they're taking us back alive, then that means we are gonna be experimented on." The original Naruto gulped and slumped his shoulders. So far his afterlife wasn't going well at all. In Soul Society, the Senkai gate opened and out came the 3 captains with their new captive. Naruto had been moved into a cage during the transport so lower Shinigami who were dumb enough to provoke the Hollow wouldn't lose their souls and be devoured. The 3 walked towards the main chambers of Soul Society and Yakiru greeted her captain with a hug and a job well done. Naruto had awoken by this time but he still couldn't move his body. Yakiru approached the cage and looked at Naruto. "Wow, this Hollow sure looks funny. Was it tough to take down Ken-chan?" Kenpachi pulled up the sleeve of the arm where Naruto's tail had bitten him. "Just 2 marks, Yakiru. Nothing serious." Kenpachi spoke with a straight face, however his arm where he was bitten had a tingling sensation running up it constantly and it felt numb. The fang holes felt really weird, like air was blowing through them. His body felt really heavy, like a large weight had been strapped to his back. Hitsugaya felt strange. His body felt numb all over and it was starting to get hard for him to walk. His breathing was also becoming heavy and he stopped to lean himself against a building to catch his breath. Soifun was also feeling just as bad. She had a terrible headache and her body was feeling very hot. Her breathing, like Hitsugaya, was becoming heavy. Suddenly all at once, Kenpachi, Hitsugaya and Soifun collapsed and hit the ground they were walking on. Ken-chan, Yakiru yelled. Naruto looked over and saw what had happened to the three captains from within his cage. What's wrong with them? Something tells me the arrows you fired at them, when you fought earlier, were laced with spirit bacteria. The bacteria is probably eating their bodies from the inside out. The Naruto who wore a snake mask pondered. Several Shinigami appeared and Shunpei. OED the three downed captains to the medical division post-haste. Naruto sat in his cage on the sidewalk of Soul Society. That is until a man dressed like a weirdo showed up. He had a strange-looking face with some sort of hat that pointed off to the right. This was Mayuri Kurosuchi, captain of the 12th Division. Standing with him was a purple-haired woman dressed in a short skirt. This was Yuri's daughter and vice-captain to the 12th Division. Nemu, take this Hallow to our lockdown area. I will be there shortly after I tell General Yamamoto the mission was a success. Also get the experiment tanks ready. Naruto couldn't believe his hollow ears. He's taking credit for their mission. This guy reminds me too much of Orochimaru, Naruto thought. Naruto looked at Nemu who began moving the transport. He'll admit she had a very cute face. Reminded him a lot of Hinata. Her eyes though, they seemed dull, void of life, like a puppet's. Elsewhere, things were hectic at the medical DV. Sion as Unohana tried to figure out the cause of the three captains' illness. All three had been hooked up to spirit support machines, since the main symptom they all had was mass Ryutsu depletion. With a Shinigami, if they use all their Ryutsu, their souls end up collapsing in on themselves, thus they would cease to exist. Even Kenpachi Zaraki, the Ryutsu powerhouse, was feeling the effects. The symptoms however were worse with him since his Ryutsu level was so high. Unohana was currently looking at a blood sample from Kenpachi and was shocked at what she saw. Azane, who had been helping her Tane with the medical analysis, was scared at her Taicho's expression. That expression usually meant that lives were hanging in the balance and they might not make it. What is it, Unohana Taicho? This disease. I've seen it before. Unohana spoke as she wheeled her chair over to a large filing cabinet and pulled out an old file with a classified mark stamped on it. Unohana opened the file and upon further inspection, it was a classified health report that belonged to General Yamamoto and Captain Komamura a while back. The symptoms that the three captains were experiencing matched that of symptoms that Yamamoto and Komamura had. Ryutsu poisoning. Unohana spoke as she got up out of her chair and ran towards a call box that was routed to Yamamoto. Yamamoto Taicho, I have urgent need of information, inquiring the mission that Captain Zaraki, Hitsugaya and Soifun completed earlier. The hollow they brought back. Where is it? Meanwhile at the 12th Division, Naruto had been moved into a larger cage and his arms, legs and tail were bound with Ryutsu absorbing restraints. The room the cage was in was big and dark. Nemu had gone somewhere. As Naruto sat in his cage, he heard voices and feet shuffling toward his position. Nemu, you useless whore, when did I say you could let people in here? Mayuri had reported and gone back to his division to see Unohana and Azane just walking in. They have clearance from Yamamoto to be here, Mayuri-sama. Nemu spoke before getting slapped by Mayuri. Incompetent when hey, where do you two think you're going? We need Ryutsu Fr. Own the hollow that was brought back to make an antidote. Unohana spoke in her rare scary voice. Mayuri stared Unohana down before giving in. Fine, just don't damage the specimen. Mayuri spoke open in the door to where Naruto was being held. Naruto got a good look at Unohana and Azane and will admit, both were quite the lookers. Unohana had lovely black braided hair and the face of an angel. Azane had lovely light blue hide and an innocent face. They both reminded him of Hinata. Naruto thought back a tear from falling down his masked face, every woman I see reminds me of Hinata. The blonde Hallow though to himself. Well, she was one of the few people who accepted you for what you were. She admired your will and strength in the beginning, but that blossomed into something beautiful between you both. Spoke the eagle-masked Naruto from the mindscape. Naruto shook himself of the guts and back to the present situation. He saw that Unohana and Azane had 3 clear containers. Clear containers. How do we get Ryutsu from a Hallow? Azane asked. She and her captain turned toward Mayuri looking for an answer. How should I know? Was his answer. Unohana turned towards the Hallow and walked towards it with a container. She looked Naruto in the eyes. We need Ryutsu, will you give us some? She asked Naruto. Naruto pondered the thought. These people were the enemy at the moment. And again he knew what it was like to lose a comrade. He decided he would help them. Mayuri smacked his head. Woman, it's a Hallow, do you really think it would help you? Mayuri was stopped speechless. As he watched the Hallow take the container from Unohana and using its tail, the snake opened its mouth revealing its fangs and put the fans on the container. Yellow, golden Ryutsu poured from the fangs filling the container up. Naruto did the exact process with the other 2 containers. After the last container was filled and given back, Unohana smiled at the Hallow. Naruto felt his mask heat up a little. Thank you for your cooperation, Hallow-san. Unohana spoke as she and her vice Captain Shunpyo'd back to their division, leaving Naruto and Mayuri alone. Mayuri turned towards the Hallow. All right, I need you to do that as well for me. You will do it, understand? Mayuri ordered to Naruto. Naruto's response was a showing of his middle finger from his tiger claw arm. Back at the medical division, Naruto's Ryutsu was now being mixed with several antibiotics. Introducing Ryutsu from another creature into a Shinigami was dangerous. There was a distinct possibility that the Shinigami's Ryutsu would reject it. However, at the moment, there wasn't much choice for the 3 iPast and the antidote was made. 3 tubes of golden liquid were hooked up to the support devices and was pouring into the 3 captains. Everyone crossed their fingers hoping it would work. The effects were immediate. Their breathing steadied and their Ryutsu reserves began to climb back up at a slow pace. Unohana sighed in relief. All they need is some bed rest and they'll be back up in no time. Unohana stopped and began to think. That Hallow was very cooperative. The question is why though? I need to ask it when I get the chance. Meanwhile, Mayuri had gotten mad with the middle finger Naruto had shown him and was beating him into submission. Actually, beating wouldn't be the right word. He had stabbed Naruto twice already with his Shikai, paralyzing both his arms, rendering his Sero ability inoperable. I hope you like my Zanpakuto, Ashizobi Jizo. If you keep putting up a fight, I'll be using on you. Fill this up with some Ryutsu or else. Mayuri spoke confidently. Naruto glared at Mayuri. Damn this weirdo. Naruto thought angrily as his arms remained useless. Naruto, calm yourself, just go ahead with what he wants for now. The snake mask Naruto spoke. But, listen, both your arms can't be used and if I'm stabbed, you'll be at his complete mercy. I'm not saying give up. I'm saying, just go along for now until you get the chance to separate him from his weapon, then beat the living pulp out of him. Alright, fine. Naruto stopped glaring at Mayuri and lowered his head, meaning he gave in. Does this mean you'll be more cooperative? Mayuri asked. Naruto moved his head up and down, meaning yes. Good, now fill this up. Meyer spoke as he got a large glass test tube and held it for Naruto to take it, only he didn't. Why won't you take it? Naruto gave him an annoyed glance when Mayuri realized the Hollow's arms were still paralyzed. Oh right, I'll do it then. Naruto sat in his cage. His living accommodations had been the same. 2 days had passed and he still lived in a dark cell, chained and bound. Meals for the new Hallow mainly consisted of a substance Mayuri called Hallow bait. Often at times, Nemu was the one who fed him. However, on certain occasions Mayuri would accompany her and watch him eat. This usually meant that the food he was being fed was laced with some drug or experimental material and he was being used as a test subject for it. Naruto suddenly heard a creaking sound, which meant Nemu had come to feed him. He also only heard 1 pair of footsteps, meaning Mayuri wasn't coming. Which meant the food was safe and not laced with anything. The door to his cell opened and there she stood, wheeling in a table high enough with the food to reach Naruto's mouth so he could eat. Naruto opened his mouth and slowly began to eat. The food was horrible. It smelled great to him, but the taste could have been better. Nemu stood a few feet away and watched him eat. Her orders from Mayuri were to wheel the table away as soon as he was finished. Naruto stopped eating and raised his head to look at Nemu. She had such a lovely face and was very obedient. The chimera pondered how Mayuri could harm someone like her. His own daughter no less. From what Naruto could gather, Mayuri created Nemu from his own cells, however she was created artificially. There was no Mrs. Mayuri after all. Naruto remembered on the second day he had been there. His ears had the displeasure of hearing Mayuri's abuse towards Nemu. Flashback. Naruto sat in his cage, bored as hell. His other personas were sleeping and Naruto didn't want to disturb them. Suddenly he heard a woman's voice cry out in what sounded like blood spilling and hitting the floor. Nemu, you incompetent when can't you do anything right? Naruto heard Mayuri yell, I am sorry Mayuri-sama. Naruto heard Nemu reply weakly. Naruto heard a slap so loud, he could practically feel it. You know that the poison I asked for is needed in bulk. This measly amount will never do. Why do I leave these things up to a worthless whore like you? Naruto listened and soon another slap was heard. Naruto kept listening and a pair of footsteps could be heard walking away. Then the sound of a body falling to the floor was heard and short after crying. Nemu crying. Naruto could hear the stifled sobs. It tore at his hollow heart. Even if he was a being who was, as their name says, hollow, he still had emotions. That poor girl. Naruto spoke out loud. End flashback. Naruto kept looking at Nemu. He could see the red slap mark from the other day on her face. It glowed a little, meaning the pain was still there. Nemu. He called out to her. Nemu raised her head to look at who called her. She had a surprised facial expression when she saw the hollow was talking to her. Nemu. Naruto asked again. Now Nemu was confused. It was true that some hollows spoke, but most of them just growled or grunted. Better yet, why would a hollow want to speak to her? Yes. Nemu replied meekly. Why do you take all the abuse Mayuri puts on you and never fight back? Naruto asked her. Nemu bowed her head and was silent for a moment. An awkward silence settled between the two. I mean, he treats you no better than a common slave. I know the verbal and physical abuse must be horrible. You deserve better than Mayuri. Even when you do what he asks, he still beats you. Naruto spoke with fire in his voice. Nemu, who had been listening, was silent. However, Naruto could see tears pouring from her eyes. The next thing Naruto saw surprised him. Nemu ran through the bars of the cage and hugged him. It was apparent to how horrible Nemu felt. She was full-blown crying now. Naruto could feel the deeper Eshin rolling off of Nemu in large amounts. Being a hollow gives you that ability. All I try to do is please Mayuri-sama, but nothing I ever do is good enough for him. Nemu cried. Her voice was full of sorrow. Naruto tried putting his arms around Nemu to comfort her, but seeing as how they were bound, Naruto put his snake tail around her. His tail was the only part that wasn't bound. Naruto began rocking Nemu back and forth. It was difficult seeing how he was bound, but he managed. Whenever Hina-chan was upset, this usually helped calm her down. Naruto thought, and he was right. Nemu had stopped crying, and was now just leaning on him for support. Naruto could see a smile forming on her face. A smile Naruto knew all too well. Oh crap, gotta stop this before it spiral out of control. Naruto thought, using his snake tail he tried separating himself from Nemu's embrace. To Nemu, however, she was feeling something else. Is this what it feels like to be cared for by someone? I like it. It's warm, and for once I feel happy. To Naruto this was a little awkward. He was a married man. Well, he was married when he was alive. Did marriage still apply to you when you die? I mean, it says right in there, till death do us part. Nemu looked up at the hollow. What she saw wasn't a hollow. She saw a sweet young man. Hollow-kun. Nemu called to Naruto. Naruto looked at Nemu with his masked blue eyes. Yes, thank you. You don't know how much this talk we had means to me. Do you have a name? Nemu asked. Yes, I am Naruto Chimera Uzumaki. Naruto answered her. Is there anything I can do for you before I go? Mayuri-sama will be wondering where I am. Yeah, can I have something to read? It gets a little boring back here with nothing to do. Hi, Nemu spoke as she disappeared and reappeared with a book. Here you go. Now I must leave. I look forward to seeing you again come next feeding. Nemu spoke, wheeling the cart out, leaving the book with Naruto. Meanwhile, General Yamamoto, I Captain Retsu Unohana, request a one-on-one speaking session with the Hallow that was brought back. Unohana asked the old general in front of her. Ever since that Hallow willingly cooperated. It bugged Unohana to no end and she wanted to know why. However, she needed clearance from the general himself to access. Do you have reason for this? Yamamoto asked Unohana. Yes, I do. When Kenpachi Zaraki, Toshiro Hitsugaya and same Hallow. Surprisingly, this Hallow cooperated willingly without needing to be forced. This leads me to believe that this Hallow may be sentient and not just another mindless soul eater like the rest of its kind. Think of the good this could bring. Being able to speak with a Hallow may lead to better understanding why Hallows do what they do. Unohana explained. Yamamoto bowed his head in thought. Doing such a thing would be risky. Alright, but my third seat Conan will join as protection. The Hallow came from the world she was patrolling. Hi, understood. Unohana spoke as she shunpioed back to her division. I hope I made the right decision. Yamamoto muttered to himself. Back with Naruto. Naruto had cracked open the book Nemu had given and was reading like there was no tomorrow. Well, seeing as how he was dead, there really was no tomorrow for him. Currently he was reading the sections on Soul Society's protection squads. The book itself centered mostly on basic knowledge and didn't have anything fancy or special. Naruto was reading up on the division he was being kept in. The 12th Division. It specialized in science and experimentation. He wouldn't mind meeting this Kazuki guy. Naruto spoke as he read that Kazuki Urahara was the original captain of this division. Naruto remembered what Nemu had called him before and turned to the section on Hallows. Might as well read up on what I am. The book stated that Hallows were spirits who had given into their own inner darkness and had become twisted into monsters because of it. Hallows have evolution stages. Now that caught Naruto's attention. Hallows are commonly known to eat human souls and in some rare cases Shinigami. However, some Hallows' hunger is so great that they devour their own kind. When this happens, large groups of Hallows will group together and eat each other. Eventually the large group will merge together and form what is known as a Jillion. A Hallow that has no individuality. However, in some cases, if a Hallow soul is more affluent or has a large ego, that Hallow will have control and influence over the Jillion. This Jillion that has individuality will often eat other Jillion and evolve into an Ejukas. An Ejukas is a more advanced form of the Hallow. It was when it was first born. Once the Jillion becomes an Ejukas, the Ejukas must constantly eat other Ejukas or they revert back into a Jillion and lose all individuality, never gaining the chance to become Ejukas ever again. Over time the Ejukas will evolve into what is known as a Vasto Lord. The time span for this can range from 10 to 1,000 years, depending on the Hallow. If a Hallow mask is eaten or damaged, the Hallow's evolution will halt and cease permanently. Naruto closed the book to absorb everything he had just read. Damn, my afterlife just got a whole lot more complicated. It really is true what bastard geniuses say. Ignorance really is bliss. Naruto crack. Ed opened the book again and began to read up on Kido when suddenly the door to his cell slammed open. There stood Mayuri, face lit with anger. What did you do to Nemu? The way he said, you could feel the malice in his words. His Zanpakuto was out and in full shikai. His eyes were red with bulging veins that had more anger packed into them. Naruto just sat there with a look that said, oh shit. Nemu just talked back to me. I cut her down as punishment, but don't think I noticed. When she went in here she was obedient, but when she came out she questioned my orders. I know you had something to do with it. Mayuri spoke as he pushed a button and the cage around Naruto collapsed and the restraints detached. I was planning on keeping you alive for more research, but now you're more trouble than you're worth. When I kill you, I'll cut you open and see what makes you tick. Mayuri spoke as he lunged towards Naruto with his blade ready to strike. Naruto had plenty of experience with the blade and fired a yellow arrow from his snake tail, gaining distance between himself and Mayuri. Naruto grinned. Here's some payback for all the experiments and abuse you put Nemu through. Naruto spoke as he fired 2 arrows this time. One from his tail eye and one from his dragon mouth. Mayuri Shunpyo dodging the first, but got hit by the second, which kicked up smoke. Naruto thought he got him, but when the smoke cleared there stood Mayuri with just a few scorch marks. Fine. Was that supposed to hurt? Mayuri asked as he charged again with his blade. Mayuri seethed in anger at the Hallow in front of him. This beast had turned his once obedient Nemu against him. Yet it puzzled him. The Hallow wasn't powerful. It didn't have any mind control abilities as shown from the recent tests he had performed on it. To Mayuri, the arrows that were fired off didn't even come close to Academy-level Kido. This made Mayuri wonder why Yamamoto wanted this thing brought back if it was so weak. Oh well, an easy victory for myself. Mayuri spoke confidently as he swung his sword, intent on paralyzing Naruto then ripping him open. Naruto ducked and jumped back, not wanting to get cut by that blade. He had already experienced the effects of that sword and wasn't planning on going on any research table, paralyzed or otherwise. Naruto noticed however that Mayuri was slowly pushing him back towards a wall. Once up against it, he wouldn't have nowhere to move and keep himself safe. Naruto, use my abilities. The snake mask copy offered. What can you do? Empower me with Reiatsu and find out. Naruto focused Reiatsu to his tail and a loud snake hissing was heard. Whatever you're planning won't work. Naruto heard from a taunting Mayuri who Shunpyo'd and appeared in front of Naruto. A sick, twisted gleam in his eye as he lunged his blade forward, aimed at Naruto's throat. Time slowed down in Naruto's mind. He closed his eyes fearing the outcome. There was a bright flash of yellow light and the sound of a blade hitting rock was heard. Naruto opened his eyes and to his surprise he was standing behind Mayuri as he watched the captain try and dislodge his blade from the wall. What happened? Naruto asked in his head. That is what I like to call Ryo Sonido. Or lightning sonic. It turned you into a lightning bolt a split second before that blade connected and moved you to a safer area. Lucky for you, we have free control otherwise you'd be done right now. The snake mask copy spoke smugly in Naruto's head. Alright, time to teach this joker why you don't mess with Naruto. Uzumaki. Naruto spoke as he charged with his clawed arms ready. Mayuri heard the charging and got his blade unstuck from the wall. Mayuri pointed his left open hand at Naruto and fired a grapple arm which latched onto Naruto's neck, choking him. Mayuri twisted his body and flung Naruto across the room, slamming him into a wall, causing the wall to collapse and break. Okay, I spoke too soon. Naruto spoke. In his head and his other personas nodded their heads in agreement. Mayuri smirked as his claw grapple arm came back and attached to his arm. He reached inside his captain's uniform and pulled out some small pellets which he threw over towards Naruto's direction. After they landed on the ground, Mayuri pulled out a switch and hit the button. The pellets exploded kicking up smoke. Naruto took most of the explosion. Ouch, was all he could say as he fell over and hit the floor. Mayuri smirked as he walked slowly towards Naruto. His blade at the ready. Now time for you to die and for me to get a new anatomy test subject. Mayuri spoke bringing his blade down. Tear through the jungle. Shishikazaki, Lion Queen, a shout and a metallic clang was heard. Mayuri stood speechless. Naruto looked up and there stood Nemu defending him. Only she was different. Unlike the short skirt and robe she wore before, Nemu was decked out in a suit of golden cloth-like armor. Her hair was no longer up in a bun but was now free falling past her shoulders. Encompassing her head was lion-shaped samurai helmet with a purple mane on it. On her feet were a pair of dark purple high-heel boots going up to the action of the shoes were clawed. Encompassing her arms were a pair of golden greaves and on her hands were a set of purple battle claws. Think Suikatsu's weapons from Inuyasha. A golden striped purple tail came down her back side. Overall, she looked like a golden humanoid lioness. Nemu, you've mastered Shikai, was Mayuri's proclamation. Yes, Mayuri-sama, I have and I will use it to defend the one being who has shown me kindness. Nemu spoke putting pressure on her defensive stance and pushing Mayuri back. Nemu, what has this Hallow done to you? Is he controlling you somehow? Mayuri asked with surprise. No, Chimera-kun has no reason to control me. I protect him because he has shown me more kindness and care than you ever have. For years I acted as your shield in battle, your test subject in experiments. All I wanted was to please you and gain your acceptance. But nothing I did was good enough for you. Nemu shouted as she leapt forward and slashed at Mayuri with her claws in unbelievable speed. Mayuri braced himself and blocked Nemu's slashes with his sword. I gave you life. You were created to serve me. Nothing more. You think I give a shit how you feel? Mayuri shouted, as he lunged forward with his Zanpakuto. Nemu dodged by dropping to the floor like a cat, then jumping upward, kneeing Mayuri in the chin and jumping back towards where Naruto laid. Are you alright, Chimera-kun? Naruto picked himself up. Yeah, flipping fantastic. Naruto replied sarcastically. Mayuri was rubbing his sore chin. His eyes narrowed in anger. Enough. Hallow. I swear you will be on the research table before you know it. And you, Nemu. I will hollow out your mind and make a proper servant. Mayuri spoke as he shunpioed forward. Nemu disappeared then reappeared in front of Mayuri and blocked the blade with her right claw, then followed up with a swift slash of her left claw. The claw dug into Mayuri's shoulder and blood gushed forth which stained his uniform. Naruto followed up Nemu's attack by charging forward, taking the scientist Shinigami by surprise and ripped through Mayuri's already injured arm with his tiger claw, tearing it off. Damn, it wasn't his sword-wielding arm. Naruto said in disappointment. Mayuri cursed at the pain and shunpioed away from the Hallow and his daughter. Damn, not once, not twice, not even 3, but 4 times my arm has been torn off. First by that Quincy, then eaten twice that Bount. Damn the both of you. I'll show you why no one fucks with Mayuri Kuretsuchi. Bankai. Mayuri angrily rang out as his sword changed and took the form of some strange giant baby-headed caterpillar with lots of blades sticking out of its chest. Naruto's eyes widened. The thing that stood in front of him and Nemu was giant. It was bigger than Naruto himself. It stared at Naruto with its pupilless eyes, a smirk forming on its giant creepy baby head. Poisonous, purple smoke was pouring out of its mouth. Naruto, quickly focus Reiatsu to all 4 masks and quickly. The snake mask copy addressed in Naruto's head. Okay, but why? Naruto said quickly as he began to focus Reiatsu to all his masks. Each mask let out a roar and began charging a Sero. 4 total. Just do it, jackass, and quick. I don't want my existence to perish because of your stupid, slow ass. The tiger mask wearing Naruto voiced loudly with vigor. Naruto's eye twitched. In irritation at the tiger mask Naruto's foul language. You and I are gonna have a long talk about your mouth when this is over. Naruto spoke in his head to the tiger mask. Yeah, let me save you the trouble. I was wrong. You were right. Blah blah. I learned my lesson. There, now that's finished. Fire 4 Seros already. That freak of nature is charging. The tiger mask spoke frightened, which brought Naruto back to reality. Now die. Mayuri roared as his giant freaky Bankai charged forward with blades sticking out of its chest. Naruto felt Reiatsu building in each of his masks. He dug his hooves into the ground and positioned himself to where all 4 masks were pointing towards to Bankai that was closing distance fast. Naruto felt each mask was completely full of Reiatsu as each mask's mouth began to glow red. Nemu-chan, get behind me. Nemu did as Naruto asked and got behind him. Naruto braced his hooves in the ground and dug his claws in anchoring himself. Mayuri's Bankai was now only a few feet away from them. Sero de Quadro. Naruto spoke as 4 Seros were fired from each of Naruto's masks. The 4 Seros combined into a large Sero which soared right toward the Bankai. Time seemed to slow down as both attacks made their way towards each other. Right at the start of impact of the 2 attacks, a shock wave flew from both and destroyed the room the 3 were fighting in. However, the 2 attacks didn't cancel each other out on impact. They were pushing against themselves, fighting for dominance. Naruto began to struggle to keep up his Sero de Quadro. He started to sweat. It was difficult keeping a continuous beam of Reiatsu going at his level. Nemu could tell. She saw how Naruto was begin to strain keeping his attack going. I have to help him. Emu voiced as she shunpioed from behind Naruto. Nemu-chan. Where did she go? Naruto thought. Mayuri was grinning a large grin. He could tell he was winning. Yes, Jizo. Now Fini. Mayuri was cut of. As Nemu appeared near him and delivered a kick to his face with her clawed boot, causing Meyer to lose his focus and his Bankai went out of control. Jizo turned to charge at Mayuri and Nemu. Naruto's Sero dissipated and he slumped to the ground, dead tired from his attack. Mayuri on the other hand wasn't as lucky. His Bankai was still active and was charging towards Nemu, who Shunpyo'd out of the way leaving Mayuri to take the full force. Mayuri's eyes widened as he was ran over by his own Bankai and got turned to a light green pile of goo. Naruto got himself up and walked toward Nemu who was staring at the goo. Is it over? He asked her. Yes, Nemu answered. Is he dead? Naruto inquired. No. This is what happens to Mayuri-sama when he is beaten in battle. His body will reform in 3 days. Good. That leaves 2 days for me to take a nap. Naruto spoke as he fell over on his back and closed his eyes to rest. You sleep well, Chimera-kun. I won't let anyone hurt you. Nemu spoke as she took a seat on Naruto's chest. After all, he was big enough for her to do so. He may be a monster, but he's a sweet monster. Nemu spoke as she watched him sleep. Meanwhile, back in the world of Shinobi, things had really gone downhill since the Leaf Village had received word of Naruto's death. Well, it was downhill for those who knew Naruto personally. Tsunade started drinking in great amounts again and resigned as Hokage. To her, it just didn't matter anymore now that she had lost not one, but 2 of her precious people. Both Jiraiya and Naruto were dead. To her, she had a reason to drink. Shizune had become really quiet. She missed the blonde's goofy grin. Lee had lost his youthfulness. Believe it or not, to him, Naruto was his rival. A way better rival than Neji or Sasuke. The thing was, he wasn't just Lee's rival, he was a good friend. The type of friend you don't just find anywhere. Sakura wasn't affected much. To her, it was just a longer time till Sasuke came back, which would be never. Shikamaru mourned Naruto's death for a time. He would visit the grave every once in a while and leave a white flower to show he cared. Being a genius meant never doing things that would leave yourself open. He saw how much that meant when Choji, in a blind rage, tried to avenge Naruto's death. He had chased down the Akatsuki member, Kakuzu, and tried to kill him. Emphasis on tried. Choji had landed a few good hits on the greedy, old, missing nin, but had been killed by a lightning strike from one of Kakuzu's hearts to his throat. Choji's grave was right next to Naruto's. The one affected by Naruto's death the most though was Hinata. When she had first heard of it, she had cried for 8 days. Neji tried to help her, but ended up stopping her fate. This happened a lot more than once. Hinata missed him that much. Currently though, Neji was the clan head of the branch house. Neji had gone through his deceased father's things and found a note addressed to him and Hinata. This can't be. I'm descended from a race called Quincy's. And Hinata-sama is descended from a race called Phenomena. Rejectors. Neji looked to the ceiling of the room he was in, utterly shocked. Then reality hit and he asked the question. Why does the race I'm from have such a gay name? He asked, irritated. Silence. The state of which no sound of any kind is emitted. Currently that was the state Naruto's mindscape was in. The real Naruto stood proudly in his cage, happy at the recent defeat of Mayuri Karatsuchi. He had defeated the man who had held him captive and experimented on. He also had liberated Nemu. These 2 achievements had made Naruto feel rather well about himself. So well, that he expected praise from his other personas. Naruto looked around at the 3 cages that circled his own. Well, how was that? The snake mask wearing copy gave him a positive nod. The eagle mask wearing copy gave him an energetic thumbs up. However, his tiger mask wearing doppelganger was laying on his side facing away from him. Naruto glared at the tiger mask's wearer's back. Hey! Naruto yelled at him. What? The tiger asked in a bored tone. Aren't you going to say anything? Naruto asked, hating his tiger part more by the second. Without even turning around, the tiger mask snorted and replied. No. An annoyance tick mark formed on Naruto's head. Why not? He said through gritted teeth. Because as far as I am concerned, you don't deserve any praise. You don't deserve our powers. So as soon as you falter and can't keep up your kingly duties, I am going to take that throne for myself. And you will become my horse just as I have been for you. Tiger spoke with much gusto from his still-seated position. Naruto, not understanding, inquired on what Tiger meant. What do you mean? Snake shook his head and began to explain. Naruto, do you see how we are all lined up here? If you should falter from, let's say, an emotional breakdown or something like a defeat in battle that leaves you mentally vulnerable, one of us will fill your spot as middle ruler. Naruto nodded his head even though he really didn't understand. Tiger, who had been listening the whole time, got up, frustrated at his king's stupidity. Let me put it in terms even you can understand. You screw up and are by some miracle still alive, I'll take that head seat from you and be the one calling the shots. Naruto glared at Tiger Mask. What do you have to gain? We are already dead. Tiger returned his glare with a Cheshire grin. So, even if we're dead, I don't like being told what to do. I wanna be in charge. Naruto glared before getting ready to yell something, but was stopped by Snake Mask gesturing with his hand. What is it? Something is happening on the outside. Naruto, you need to wake up now. Outside of Naruto's mind, Nemu had been keeping watch over his body while he slept. To her, his safe condition was what mattered. She sat atop his chest Indian style with her Zanpakuto, resealed, sitting in her lap. She was ready to fight at a moment's notice if something endangered herself or who she currently sat on top of. Chimera-kun was nice enough to help me. Now I will help him. Nemu spoke to herself. In the distance, Nemu could see some movement. More than likely, a squad of Shinigami to clean up the mess Mayuri made in his outrage. Renji Iburai was not having a good day. First, let's list the reasons why. 1. Today was his day off. Now you think anyone who gets a day off would be having a good time right now. 2. His captain, Byakuya, had stormed into his living quarters with direct orders from Yamamoto to check out a recent explosion from the 12th Division. 3. He got paired to do this assignment, on his day off with Omeda. The fat bastard wouldn't shut up about how financially superior he was. Or how delicious his chips were or how much of a stud he was. Renji felt like pulling his red hair out of his head. What had once started as a good day had turned into a bad one. He was glad he had gotten out of the Soul Society Men's Club or whatever it was called and joined his captain in that calligraphy club. If only the brushes to do the writing weren't so large. Oh Renji, how does it feel to be on assignment with someone so wealthy? Omeda asked snobbishly while eating another potato chip. Just great, Renji replied sarcastically. Maybe if I pretend to enjoy his company, he'll tire his mouth out from talking. Omeda, not hearing the sarcastic tone, droned on. It is great. After all, a couple of studs like us should stick together. Years of breeding have made me the man you see before you. If you're a stud, I would hate to see what ugly in your family looks like. Renji thought. I'm sure your family is so proud. Again the sarcastic tone. Of course they are. A dashing young man like myself working for the 13 squads brings. Hey Renji, we're here. The pineapple-haired Shinigami sighed in relief. What greeted them was not a pretty sight. A section for the storage part of the building was blown up and there was debris everywhere. Sitting in the middle of it, Renji saw what appeared to be a hollow and Nemu sitting on top of it. Omeda didn't say anything. As he made his way to a call box near the building. He dialed a number that went straight towards Yamamoto's private line. Captain Commander. Yes, we're going to need a cleanup crew down here in a large transport. Why? Well, half the 12th Division is blown up and a hollow is sitting in the middle of it. The slew of curses Omeda heard was not appealing to the ear as he hung up immediately. Knowing the Captain Commander would have to use a grand sum of the Soul Society budget to fix the half of the 12th Division that had been leveled. Omeda looked over to see Renji make his way over to Nemu with his Zanpakuto out, ready to fight at a moment's notice. Renji was currently processing the scene in front of him. Here was this hollow, seemingly knocked out, Mayuri's assistant, Nemu, sitting on top of it. Her weapon sitting in her lap, looking serious, and the captain of the 12th Division was nowhere to be seen. Could this hollow had destroyed this section of the building and took Mayuri with it? And Nemu, in a fit of vengeance, slew the hollow. But if that was to be, why was the hollow still here? Did Nemu perhaps simply knock it out and wait for her captain to return from here ever he was to slice it open and examine it? That made Renji shiver. Any creature, Shinigami or hollow, would suffer at the hand of the sadistic scientist. Renji was brought out of his musings by a hand poking him on the head. Hey Renji, what should we? Omeda spoke as he went to grab another potato chip from his bag only to realize they were all gone. Suddenly everything went dark in AS. Spotlight focused on Omeda, who fell to his knees like he had just been told someone had killed his best friend. I took you for granted. I never appreciated you enough. I knew you weren't meant to last, but why did you have to go so soon? Renji, who was standing in the background, saw what was going on and was rather put off by Omeda's display. Dude, it's just a bag of chips. Get another bag. Renji, you don't understand. These were Wolfbane flavored chips. These are incredibly rare and only come from the living world. Omeda sobbed. To think Captain Soy Fawn has to put up with this on a daily basis. Renji thought as he watched Omeda put on a miniature funeral for his chips bag. May you all rest in peace. Especially you, the bastard chip of the bag. Your mutated shape never took away the fact you were stuffed with flavor. Omeda spoke as he constructed a small monument for the bag out of debris. Renji shook his head as he made his way over to Nemu to get her off the hollow and hopefully find out what was going on. Well, he believed what was going on but needed to confirm from a witness. Renji Flash stepped over, toes up like when a cat sees an unfamiliar cat in its territory. Yo Nemu-san, do you know? Renji was cut off as he dodged a Keto blast sent his way by Nemu. Renji got surprised by the attack. He looked to Nemu for explanation. Nemu had a stare that screamed, "Don't come any closer." Oi, Nemu, what the hell? Renji yelled to her, "Stay away from Chimera-kun. I won't let you take him away." Nemu spoke with gusto as she charged another Keto blast and fired. Renji Flash stepped to dodge and looked to Omeda, who was still mourning his chips. Nemu continued to fire off more Keto shots. Renji kept dodging before getting hit with one. That was when he had enough. Howl, Zabumaru, he called out, and his blade took on its Shikai form. Nemu saw that Renji was ready to fight back properly, so she did the same. Tear through the jungle, Jishi Kazaki, Nemu call. Ed out, and her katana disappeared and dressed her in her lioness battle suit from the last battle with her captain. Renji thrusted his large sword forward as it detached in attached segments and flew towards the where Nemu was. Nemu kicked Renji's sword away with her clawed boot before shunpoing in front of him with a thrust from her claws. Renji blocked the thrust with the hilt of his sword and mashed her away with the upper middle part of his sword. Nemu did a back flip before springing forward and engaging Renji in close quarters combat with several kicks and claw jabs. Renji was forced on the defensive, blocking with his sword. The one drawback to Zabumaru's extended form was that it wasn't very useful in close quarters. Nemu was capitalizing on this since she aimed for whatever opening she could find in Renji's guard. Unless Renji could get his sword back to its original form, he would be at a disadvantage. And Omeda was still mourning his chips. Renji managed to knock Nemu away before yelling, "Hey fat ass, help me." Nemu, however, was right back in Renji's space, not giving him a chance to breath. Renji managed punch with his free hand, which hit Nemu's shoulder. This, however, use her to spin and bitch slap Renji with her tail, which sent him flying and crashing into a wall. When Konan heard her third seat duties were being reinstated, she forgot that it wasn't all glamour. Her duty was actually the bane of any Shinigami captain. Paperwork. Konan was currently working on a stack of paper concerning the recent Ryutsu poisoning that Zaraki, Hitsugaya and Seofon Taiko had suffered. Konan didn't mind doing paperwork, but the amount of it was absolutely ridiculous. Her desk was actually shadowed by the amount of paperwork she had to do. Yes, third seats get desks. The blue-haired beauty was actually beginning to wish something bad would happen to take her away from this work, even if it was temporary. As if the gods had heard her plight, a hell butterfly made its way into her office. "Konan, you have an assignment. I have just been told that a cleanup crew is needed at the 12th Division. I have decided to put you in charge of it. Get on it immediately." Konan became ecstatic at the butterfly. "Yes, sir." She spoke with vigor and shun-po'd out of her office. Naruto stirred from his battle-induced coma. He got up to see the sight of Nemu fighting some red-haired guy and send him flying into a wall. He looked around until he spotted some fat guy kneeling and praying in front of a pile of rocks. Naruto asked the only thing he could at a time like this. "What the heck is going?" Nemu turned at hearing Naruto's voice and sped towards him, immediately glomping him upon impact. "Chimera-kun, I am so glad you're alright. Naruto just sweat dropped. Nemu. All I did was take a nap. Nothing bad happened to me. In Naruto's head he heard Eagle's mask speak softly. You should cherish her, Naruto. It's hard to come across love in the afterlife. Nemu looked into Naruto's eyes like a happy child. But I was worried about you. Naruto couldn't stay mad at a face like that. Granted, he had used the same face on Hinata, Tsunade and Shizune when he needed something from them and they wouldn't budge. Nemu-chan, I think we should leave and find a place to hide. Nemu nodded in agreement as Naruto picked her up and placed her in his mane of hair before charging full speed in a random direction. A wall collapsing was heard as both Nemu and Naruto turned to see Renji pulling himself out of collapsed rubble. Renji was mad. It was his day off. He was forced to do an assignment on said day off. He was forced to do an assignment on his day off with a fat lummox who was useless at this point. While trying to do the assignment on his day off with a fat tub of lard, he gets bitched slapped into a wall. That was it. He couldn't take it. Renji felt his spiritual pressure spike along with his anger. He was as pissed. He wanted retribution. Screw it if his captain punishes him for it. Bankai. Renji's Zabumaru now took the form of a large red-plumed mechanical snake. The giant weapon was ready for battle. There was one problem though. Both Nemu and the Hallow were gone. Renji felt his frustration reach its peak as he looked to the sky wanting to scream at it. His bad day had just gotten worse. Renji suddenly heard a girly scream and looked to see Omeda cowering against a wall. Okay, Renji, I'll help you. Omeda cried in fear at Renji's Bankai. Renji looks to the reading audience. Now the fat ass wants to help. The tone of Renji's words dripped with annoyance and sarcasm. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.